It's been a little bit of a hiatus, but welcome back to Ossont Battery. On today's episode, I have some special guests from around my area. This is a new band called Recreational Dismemberment. So welcome, Rob and Charlie.
Thanks.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
All right. Now, first thing I wanted to get into is the name of the band. It from what I remember, it has a pretty interesting origin. The name of the band. So could you guys elaborate on that?
Yeah, it's all based on a joke Charlie tried making, and to kind of reverse the joke on him, I took the name seriously. So he posted a picture of himself looking out the back window with one of his cats and said, "Only one of us is thinking of recreational dismemberment. P.S. That's also the name of Rob's death metal band." And I was like, you know what? I think that is. And so I went, I did a quick Google search, make sure nobody had it, and then I just went to town collecting all the, social media addresses for it, and just kind of took the ball and ran with it.
Nice. That's a pretty interesting. So it came with from a cat, essentially.
Basically, yeah.
All right. Awesome. Now, when you first started the band, Rob, this is mostly you do the music, correct?
Yeah.
Most of the music. And what was
all
your
the music, really?
What was the like the impetus or like the influences you really had or that you wanted to get out with the band?
Well, I tried doing a death metal album about a decade ago, and I really struggled with it. It was unfocused. I was trying. I had ideas for about 5 or 6 songs. They were all vastly different in style, and it just never went anywhere. But that desire to make my own death metal album never went away. And really, I mean, I think I think kind of the catalyst for it was Charlie coming up with the name as a joke. It kind of reminded me that it's something I wanted to do. And I just kind of just started messing around in my studio. I came up with Backwater Burial Ground, the music for it. And I mean, I had all my songs. They all had, just arbitrary names at the time. And I really liked it. Like the more I listened to it, the more I liked it. And I said, you know what? This is what I want to do. I want to do something it's simple, it's easily accessible, but it's also interesting. Nothing over the top and flashy. And I wanted something that kind of paid homage to 90s death metal, which was, Cannibal Corpse, The Bleeding for me is probably the greatest death metal album of all time.
Nice.
And when 6 Feet Under came out, I remember it blew my mind. I was in high school. And I remember thinking the way that they combined the obituary guitar riffs with the Cannibal Corpse vocals over a hardcore drum beat, my life honestly changed with that album musically. A lot of stuff that I started working on pretty much from that time forward, basically the mid 90s. That was the style that I kind of got into, and I just never got out of it. But I've always been doing other people's stuff. I've always been, working with Charlie. Charlie's a great songwriter. Jake Punzelin, when we did the Banff stuff, Jake is a great songwriter as well. Everything I've always done has always been somebody else's stuff. So I felt like it was important for me to get out something of my own.
Now, did you always have Charlie in mind for the vocals, or did you ever think about singing yourself? Or
I used to do the vocals for that kind of stuff when I was a kid. And the older I got, the more self-conscious I got about it, and I just kind of got out of it. One of the things about Charlie's vocals is, we've been in a variety of bands together over the year, obviously. And when we were in Deadbolt together, Charlie was doing backing vocals. Actually, it was the Vatican Fire stuff that we started even before we got into Deadbolt. And Charlie just had the most ferocious death metal voice that he was using as a backing vocal. And I was thinking to myself, God damn, to put something like that over the top of the cool shit that I'm writing. So, he was being a good sport and, happy to participate. And honestly, he knocked it out of the park. I can't think of anybody that could have done this music better justice. He captured that 90s era Chris Barnes, you know, pretty much exactly as I heard it in my head.
Yeah, it sounds great. Like I said, I'm not a huge death metal guy, but it just really put me back in that 90s era, like when I was a kid, Now,
Yeah.
Charlie, did you have any influences on the vocals that you were kind of influenced by for this project? Because I know you don't normally do like death vocals like this on your other projects.
Sort of. When I was a kid, it's all I did. I didn't even try to do clean vocals. So I was doing death metal and black metal vocals when I was younger, and then I got older and I just wanted to do the clean vocals. And then when this came back around and Rob brought this up, it's like this might be a fun thing to like just change gears entirely. But I come from the same thing he does. I just love 90s death metal. I think that was just a classic era that has never been touched since. And I like all those old school guys. I don't think I went into it purposely trying to do like a Barnesy thing. Obviously I don't have the depth that he has, or the whatever clinical condition of grave dirt that he has in his lungs. But I think it just sort of came out that way. And I guess the only thing that I wanted to do for this is like when I do extreme vocals, I really prefer more of a black metal style, the higher, shriekier. And this music didn't want that or need that, So I had to push lower for this one, and it came out around mid level. I can't sing too low, but I wouldn't say that I had like any like I'm trying to do a John Tardy or something like that. It wasn't like that.
Okay, gotcha. Awesome. Now, do you write the lyrics as well, or you just do the singing?
Yeah, Rob was just clean slate. He just said, "Hey, just write whatever lyrics you want, any topic you want." He said they can be funny, they can be anything. You write the lyrics and do the vocals. He didn't give me any direction on that at all, which I think was cool because it just shows a lot of trust. And I like to write funny stuff, but when I heard the songs, it's like this music is not for jokes. This is more like, it's also not like super serious. I think if death metal can be fun, this is fun death metal, but I didn't want to like make it jokey, so
Yeah.
so I kind of, and with the lyrics, I kind of like with my death metal, I'm more of a Morbid Angel guy than a Cannibal Corpse guy. I like the evil stuff more than I like the gore. But I listened to the songs and I was like, some of these need to be serial killer songs. Like they just have to
Yeah.
be. And then some of the other ones should be more like The Exorcist or, So I just kind of let the music direct it.
Now, do both of you guys, this is a question for both of you. Do you guys have a favorite song on the release?
Well, I'm kind of attached to Backwater Burial Ground because that's kind of what started everything. And I feel like I kind of combined everything I wanted to combine most ideally to me in that song. And then Nightmare Scent, the last one, I think is also it's kind of tied for it because I put some really cool harmony lines over this insanely heavy riff at the beginning, and the contrast of the melody and the heavy, and then a little side bit of trivia on that one. So as Charlie said, I gave him full artistic freedom, and when I got those songs back, I was kind of going through them and listening. And on Nightmare Scent, there was something different about the vocals, and I just couldn't. I didn't pay enough attention, but I couldn't really pick out what was different about it. And And I was texting back and forth with Charlie as I was listening to the music, coincidentally. And he said that Annie had come into the room. He was listening to the music too. Annie had come into the room, his daughter, and said that she wasn't loud enough in the mix. And then left the room, and he relayed that to me, and we both thought it was funny. And it was at that point that it clicked in my head. That's why the voice is different. It's not Charlie being different. It's fucking he put his daughter on there, and I was like, man, that's the
Yeah,
coolest goddamn
That's
thing
awesome.
ever.
it's
That put
not
it over the top for me.
it's not a 47-year-old grizzled dad. It's a 12-year-old girl.
She
Yeah,
definitely has lead singer written all over her when she's like, "Oh, I'm not loud enough in the mix."
Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Oh, that's great, man. Now, I know there was besides your daughter Annie, was there any other guests on the record? I think you had someone come in and play a couple leads, correct?
Yeah. So I had actually Jake Perry, who was formerly holding on to nothing. He's also in Train of Thought. He also does Jake Perry Unplugged. Give him a little plug for that. He's out there doing the acoustic cover song solo act. He's playing at all sorts of bars pretty consistently. He's really enjoying it. That's what he wants to do. But Jake and I go way back. I mean, we've been good friends for probably over a decade at this point. And I had one of the songs, I Saved You for Last. I never really connected to the lead I had put on there. Um, I don't know, my brain wasn't really coming up with anything good, and I had run into Jake at concert for, was it Lamb of God, Mastodon, that tour that they're on, the
Mhm.
was it Ashes of the Leviathan tour.
Yep.
So I ran into Jake there, and we were talking, and I said, "Hey, I got this spot on my album. If you want to come throw a solo down," and he was all revved up. He couldn't wait to get down there. Um, he came down, he plugged in, and just he said, "Yeah, this is what I was thinking." And but I was also thinking about playing it. What do you think? And I was like, "Yeah, let's hit record and let's go." And I mean, honestly, it probably took him 2 takes maybe to get the whole thing down. The guy's a machine, but
Nice.
I felt the solo fit the vibe of the album perfectly.
Yeah, I
And
like
then
all the
that's
leads
it.
on it. They're all pretty cool.
Yeah, the leads were me. That's basically that's what I got. I got the whammy bar squealies and the really fast chromatic runs.
What else do you
So,
need, right?
yeah, yeah. I felt I was going for a specific sound. I
Exactly.
wanted it to sound like a one band playing all the songs, but maybe two different guitars. So when I did a solo, I tried to do, half the solo in one style and the other half in another style. And I panned them one a little left, one a little right, just to kind of give it a little bit of life.
Nice. Now next thing I want to ask about is the artwork. Who did you have do that? I like the artwork a lot. It does have an old school vibe to it.
So that was a recommendation from Dwayne.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
so the original vision I had in my head was basically that art. And I had Chat GPT draw me up kind of a rough idea. And I really liked the way it looked, but I was like, I don't really want to use AI for a cover. I feel like that's something that should go to a human being.
Yeah.
And Charlie actually recommended I reach out to Dwayne because Dwayne knows everybody in every kind of avenue for music, so he's a great contact. But yeah, so he put me in touch with his guy. Um, give me 1 second.
The exact conversation sounded like this. You should use this guy. I know. Lots of vibrato.
Yeah, I just wanted to go
Oh,
grab
we got
the.
CDs.
They came in today.
Nice.
So his name is Diku Nershiar.
Oh, yeah, I've heard
Nershara.
of him.
Yeah, so he's done a lot of the flyers for Dwayne's projects over the years. Scene shows and things like that. And so yeah, so he got me in touch with Deco, and I sent him my AI mock-up, and I said, "This is the theme that I'm going for, but I want it done in like an old school death metal style, which is, right up his alley." And so yeah, so he started working on that. And kind of oddly enough, there's this little skull that has kind of become the mascot of the band.
There you
See,
go. Yeah, I've seen
the
that.
demon skull. Yeah. So that was separate artwork that he had just drawn up and had for sale. And I saw that while I was waiting for the cover. And I was like, shit, I really like that. So I bought that off of him and had him kind of tweak the logo, the band logo to go with that. And so I kind of used him for multiple things. I used him for the cover art, but I also used him to come with that little skull guy.
Cool.
And then the back cover, I actually used AI for the back cover because the image that it came up with was perfect. I wanted
Nice.
the exterior of the creepy cabin. And then the stuff inside is, since I got it, nobody's seen the inside other than Charlie and I. So we got the cover, and then that's the back. Got a nice creepy cabin in the woods. And then inside we got lyric and a couple photos. And the photos are like, this is my drum kit. Here's my guitar amp, it's just stuff I use
Yeah.
to record. And then got a cool shot of Charlie and I over here.
Cool.
So yeah, so actually, so you're the first person outside of the band to
All
see
right.
that. But yeah,
Now,
go Deco.
I also saw that you're going to be having some shirts, too, as well.
Mm-hmm. The shirts came in last week. I'm on vacation this week, so everything is kind of like I'm kind of quiet about everything right now.
Yeah.
I've been unplugged since Sunday, but yeah, t-shirts came in. I did small batches of shirts, small batches of CDs because I don't know how much of this stuff is going to sell, and I would rather
Exactly.
sell out and order more than have boxes and boxes and boxes. But yeah, so I did a single style t-shirt. It's the Recreational Dismemberment logo over the top of that skull guy. And yeah, actually they came out great. So I did think a dozen shirts and 2 dozen CDs. So I'll probably put together a couple cheap bundles on Bandcamp and then you know, kind of see where everything goes from there.
Can't wait for that.
I got
Now,
stickers too.
is this a strictly a studio project, or do you have any plans to play live as Recreational Dismemberment?
I'd love to play it live, but honestly, it was something that I wanted to do for myself, and trying to find people to play all the parts and get them all in the same room and start going down that process. It just sounds exhausting. And I have so many other things I want to do. This is my first time not being in a working band for quite some time. So I want to use that to my advantage. So I got the recreational dismemberment is done. I'm starting on a new project that's going to be just some really quick old school hardcore stuff. I've got another recreational dismemberment album. I mean, there was a bunch of ideas left over from this one, so I want to do another one of those. So I got a bunch of stuff planned, and I don't really want to burden myself with trying to put a
Yeah, I mean,
band
getting all like
together.
you say, getting all those people together is a pretty big
Mhm.
task,
Yeah,
Now, do you plan on doing any more releases for Recreational Dismemberment?
at least one more. Um, the reason that this became an EP and not a full album is I wrote all 5 of the songs musically over a certain span of time, and was cranking them out, cranking them out, cranking them out, and then I got busy with the band I was in at the time, and it kind of took away from what I was working on. And the stuff sat for a while. And then when I got some free time and I was able to get back into it, I was like, you know what? It feels really cohesive to me. And I feel like if I start trying to add on to that, these other ideas that I've already kind of had scratched together, I didn't feel like it was going to make a lot of sense. It would almost sound too forced. So I said, let me put an EP out of this stuff written in this time that all goes together. And then I'll do another batch of, maybe another 5 or 6 songs that will all kind of go together themselves.
Awesome. Well, that about wraps it up for all the questions I have. At least for about Recreational Dismemberment. Now I just wanted to get in some maybe old school death metal talk in general. What were some of your favorite bands or some of your favorite albums or some of your least favorite bands maybe from the scene back then?
Least favorites. I had a pretty small listening pool when it came to death metal. I had a couple friends in high school that were into it, but not a lot. So, um, the early Cannibal Corpse was huge for me, early Obituary. Like I said, 6 Feet Under was big. Um, Morbid Angel. What else? Suffocation. mm, just a lot of the big bands. I didn't get into a lot of the really obscure stuff because I didn't have anybody with me that was kind of taking that trip.
Yeah.
More surface level. I feel like Charlie's always been more of
How about you,
a
Charlie? What were some of your favorite death metal bands back then?
Like I said, Morbid Angel, probably my all-time favorite. I like all those classics. There aren't any that I remember particularly disliking, except that I did know at the time that I was too dumb for Suffocation, and some of these other, so like I was more into Internal Bleeding than I was into Suffocation because it was dumber, and it just made more sense to me. So I like typically I'm a little more on the caveman end of stuff, and
I hear that.
yeah,
I
and
like
that's one.
Autopsy, so
Yeah, there you go. And that's probably one of my critiques of modern death metal is that it's just gotten so technical, and with the recording technologies that are out there now, you can make a perfect album, and I just don't care about perfect albums. I want something raw, and I want it visceral, and so that's why I like that stuff. And the old school stuff when they didn't play to a click because there was no such thing, and they were figuring out as they went. And the Morris Sound was the only studio that knew how to do it in America. That's the era that I liked, and still do.
yeah, that's like I said, I was into like a lot of the more sludgier stuff, like probably more slower to mid place, like Obituary, Autopsy were some
Mm-hmm.
of my favorites. Until like Shit Fun came out, and then I got a little I don't know what that was
Yeah.
about,
But
but
yeah, I mean, me too. Like Bolt Thrower and
yeah.
that stuff that's not just a constant blast beat or 7/6 time or whatever. Like just something that's you can immediately click into.
Now, well, I guess another question for both of you guys. What was when you were younger, at least for me, one of the first things that appealed to me about death metal was just kind of how hilarious some of it was, sometimes how outrageous. Was that something that appealed to you guys, or
Yeah, I mean, lyrics sometimes lyrics matter to me, sometimes they don't. When it came to the death metal stuff, I thought some of it was kind of goony, but it was more the delivery
yeah?
than the lyrical content for me. I mean, you know, some of the lyrics are just they're just way too out there to take them seriously. But the delivery is serious, and that's what I like.
Yeah, for me it was the opposite. I was drawn to death metal because it was scary, and so a lot of these guys seemed like Glenn Benton seemed like he really meant it, and so when you'd hear these guys talk or whatever, I was like, I gotta, like, this scares me, but that means I gotta check it out, so I was a little more drawn. That's why I said I like the evil stuff more than I like the gore stuff, but it was all like, man, these guys aren't messing around. And now that I'm older, I like Obituary's take when they're like, "No, we're just regular guys that just like this music," much more that way about it. But back in the '90s, I was like, "Wow, these guys are nuts! Like burning crosses into their heads and stuff. Like, I got to get in on this."
Yeah, I mean the imagery of it all is definitely appealing as a disgruntled teenager. The
Oh
inverted
God, I
crosses and
remember.
the
I think it was my
pentagram.
16th birthday. My mom bought me an Obituary shirt, "Slowly We Rot," and she was like, "Oh, it's got a dead guy on the front." I was like, well, but she was pretty cool about it. So
That's very cool.
yeah,
I do have to mention though that at the beginning of this recording process, I did have to talk Rob out of burning a cross into his forehead. He was planning on doing that, and I said, let's see how the album goes first. So
Yeah,
yeah, exactly.
yeah. Charlie's always looking out for him.
yeah.
All right, now that's about all the questions I have for you guys tonight. I really appreciate you coming on. It was great talking with you. Do you have anything else that you want to talk about? Any other bands that I know there's one more band you guys are into. I don't know if you want me to mention that publicly or not, but
What do you got?
oh, Low Moments. I don't know if you guys want me to
Oh,
mention that, if you want to own up to being in that band or not, but
no, nobody wants to admit being a part of Low Moment.
I've actually paid to see you guys, so I don't know what it says about me. So
Sorry, we owe you.
Is this a long form way to ask for a refund on that? I guess not really, other than to say that a certain band that me and Rob and Jake used to be in is starting to kind of maybe scratch some stuff together again and see where it goes. And like Rob said, we're not really taking anything serious because that's exhausting, but there's a chance that there's some holding on to nothing on the horizon, which for anybody who hasn't heard it, it's basically 90s death metal, except entirely, completely different.
That's a good way of describing it.
yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So it could be like the Spice Girls for all I know,
Yeah, probably closer to that. Yeah.
Well, there is that EP out there, and we put out a 7-inch for anybody that's not familiar with Holding On to Nothing. We
Yes.
apologize in advance.
Yeah, it's the kind of band that people all go, "Oh, you guys must really like Typo Negative," but those people have never heard Life of Agony. That's basically what it is. So
Yeah.
Yeah, I love Life of Agony. So
It was Charlie's ode to Life of Agony that got taken as a ode to the Typo Negative instead. And then
well, I mean,
yeah.
I know Charlie, you're always like, talking about Peter Steele and stuff, and I think your wife is a big fan of him, correct?
yeah, you could say that.
Well,
Yeah.
I was thinking the one thing you and Peter Steele do have in common is the self-deprecating sense of humor. You definitely have that down pat. So
yeah, yeah. I wish there was more in common, but I'm a foot shorter and bald, and my teeth are naturally pointy and ugly. So, among other things, but yeah, I like them, but River Runs Red was a absolutely a game changing album for me when I was a kid, and it has never stopped being that. And so that's that was kind of the direction I headed on when we started writing for that, and so we, as you can see, we are stuck entirely in the 90s.
Yeah.
So.
I haven't changed. I haven't changed my writing style since the mid 90s. I haven't changed my my favorite inspirational bands, and
I
I'm
haven't
just
changed my
as much
underwear
in
since the 90s.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, Life of Agony is just as big of an influence for me as it's been for Charlie. And so I think that's one of the reasons why he and I have done so many projects together over the years. Just we have a
No,
very similar taste for the 90s.
have you guys known each other for a long time, or?
I don't know that we know each other now.
Yeah, that's questionable. But about 7 years ago, because Holding On to Nothing was already going, we had a member die. 2 members have died since then. But Rob was a fill-in for that guy, and then as soon as he got in the band, we're like, we want him official. So he jumped in, and so that's kind of where that all happened. That was about 7 years ago.
Yeah,
it was a long time ago. But actually, maybe more than that. So.
Yeah, maybe somewhere 7 or 8 years. But yeah, and then it was just the kind of thing that we just kind of followed. Well, I say we kind of followed. Really, Charlie went on this writing adventure of all these different projects, and I was just along for the ride. I was like, hey, whatever you need, I'm here for.
Very, very.
Charlie definitely does write a lot.
Yeah.
You've
released quite a bit of stuff, and so much of it's good. I know you probably hate me saying that, but.
Well, yeah, I apologize to anybody that's listened to much of it.
Well, like I said, once again, guys, thank you for coming on. I really appreciate it. I really enjoyed the EP, and I can't wait for more stuff to come out. So, do you guys have anything else you want to say before we end it, or?
No, stay tuned. If you like the music, share it. And if you don't like the music, sorry. I'll write more. That's really all I got. Charlie?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I hope people like it. If you're into, like, the way I explain it to people is, if you like, really technical, intricate, mathy, vicious death metal, this isn't for you. But if you like fun death metal that is catchy and just something that's fun and kind of bouncy, you might be into it. So you might as well check it out. And also, just, thanks to you for having us on and doing what you do for the scene. Back when Eastern Connecticut had a very vibrant metal scene, which is, kind of fallen away since COVID, but you were always one of the guys that was always there supporting and stuff. And,
thank you.
That's how a scene happens, just by showing up like that, so you were always one of those guys.
Yeah. I appreciate always following all our projects.
Yeah. I mean, the bands in this area make it so easy to be a fan, because there's so much great talent. And that's why I like tell people, go check out some local musicians, man. There's really talented people out there doing some great stuff that don't have, like, the backing of major labels and stuff and all this money behind them where they can just afford to write all day. There's people that are working, busting their ass doing regular jobs, and then going out there and busting their ass doing music. So give them some support,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that's just the way I feel, But hey, once again, guys, thanks for coming on. This has been Ossont Battery, everyone. Remember, go out, buy Recreational, Dismemberment. Go check out Low Moments. All those other bands, So have a good one, guys. Stay metal.
For 45 years and keeping Louisville weird, Electric Ladyland has been there for all your eccentricities. While they do offer the best smoking supplies out on the market today, there's a whole lot more to check out. From ashtrays and blacklight posters, to records, incense, and burners, and items to stock your metaphysical supply. They're open from 10 to 10, 7 days a week, located at 2325 Bardstown Road in Louisville, Kentucky, and at electricladyland420.com. Roll out.